had this saying at HubSpot for a very long time, which is give value before you extract value. And I think that sums up exactly what you're saying,
Right.
which is if you just start a content operation and start asking for people to convert into a lead or buy your product, you're probably not gonna last very long. It's been a big focus of ours in terms of creating value that is inimitable, but also things that lean into this sense of people seeking out trust more than ever before. And I think those two things are gonna sort of break through in this world of commodified AI content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Off Topic. This is our interview series where we interview amazing executives and founders from the tech ecosystem. Today, we are actually here at the HubSpot Inbound 2025. Thank you for inviting us, and it's great to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. Great to meet you too.
So, Jonathan, if you can give a quick overview about who you are, and then what, for those who don't know, what HubSpot is.
Yeah. So I'm Jonathan Hunt, and I head up media at HubSpot. HubSpot is a CRM that helps over 260,000 businesses grow better through marketing, sales, data, CS, and more. Within HubSpot, I oversee our media division, and so the version of media that I'm talking about is our content creation division. So every single month, we are generating hundreds of pieces of video, both long and short form, podcasts, newsletters, creator partnerships, blog content, in order to help HubSpot reach roughly 50 million people every single month across channels, but convert tens of thousands of them into leads for HubSpot.
So you start off with the content, and then it translates. People, you can build trust and awareness through it, and then it translates into people using HubSpot.
Yeah. That's exactly it. And it's creating content that they would actually want to read or watch or listen to. So it's not product marketing as much as it is entertaining, educating content about marketing, about sales, about entrepreneurship that convinces you then to take an action like becoming a lead or a sign up for HubSpot.
Got it. And you're the head of The Hustle.
Head of The Hustle as well. Yes, that's right.
I'm a subscriber, been for about 5 years.
Thank you for being a subscriber.
I think it was even before
it was before the acquisition.
Acquired,
that's right.
The Hustle. Like, why did the acquisition happen in your mind, and what has kind of been, what has happened afterwards?
Yeah, so we acquired The Hustle because what we saw is that owned media properties and talent-driven media properties were, by and large, becoming the preferred source of information from our customer base, which isn't too dissimilar from a traditional media company, right? But tech companies, SaaS companies, were not thinking that way. So the impetus for that was, rather than continue to rent it or buy ads around it, can we actually own it and use that as a launch pad for launching more media products? And so today we have an entire network of Hustle-like properties that serve different ICPs.
And so The Hustle is kind of a business news, tech news kind of oriented newsletter. And then now you've kind of expanded into all these different channels, YouTube channels, podcasts, all these different things. But I think to kind of the layman's perspective, The Hustle doesn't seem like a direct link to HubSpot. And so how do you kind of justify that? And does it actually turn into conversions? Yeah,
it's very intentional too, because I think the last thing people want is just more marketing content.
They don't want it in their faces.
No, exactly. And they want something that they would refer to a friend and actually want to open up every single day. And so that's what The Hustle does so artfully, in that it's creating content that is interesting to entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, but doing it in a way that's a bit irreverent, a bit voicey, and creates a lot of stickiness so that people do continue to subscribe and open it up on a daily basis.
Got it. And then so you're generating a lot of different impressions throughout all these different channels. Is it important to have this kind of multi-channel perspective? And then is the goal to get a lot of impressions? What's kind of the metric there?
The goal is definitely to diversify beyond being so over-reliant on a website. For all the reasons that right? It's search traffic's down, social traffic's down. It's hard to be a website operator today. You have to be diversified. And so that's one of many things that we really invested in, over 3 years ago, which was how can we start to diversify into channels where customers are, showing up more and more, but are turning to find out about what CRM they should buy or what marketing trend they should pay attention to. And so, that's why we're diversified across YouTube, across podcasts, across creators, across newsletters, across LinkedIn and other channels. But I'd argue that's probably one of the biggest needs for marketers and content creators today, and the key stage within our loop marketing playbook.
Got it. And I also think to your credit, like a lot of it should be indirect almost, where if you're kind of pitching HubSpot too much, then people kind of back away.
Yeah, you'll turn people off, right? And it feels like a hard sell. It starts to feel like product marketing.
Yeah, and I feel like most recently you've seen a few brands, like consumer-related brands, create content series. Yeah. Like I think a lot of people in the industry talk about roomies, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's but I think you're seeing something similar throughout the ecosystem. Do you think that the same thing will translate to B2B software as well?
I think it has to. Very importantly, because it's advantageous for you to own a media asset because you're not buying the impressions every single month.
Right.
You own, for the most part, the audience relationship, and you can remarket to those channels over and over and over again. So that was a big driver for why we acquired The Hustle and why we've grown our media network as well. And to answer your other question about impressions, that's not our media model at all. Unlike traditional media models where you're generating a lot of impressions because you monetize those impressions, we're really focused on generating content that attracts the right kind of high quality impressions because those are oftentimes higher intent audiences that will convert into customers of HubSpot.
How do you kind of determine what's a high quality impression versus what's not?
Yeah, well, we use a lot of data to inform content creation from conception. So everything that we create, while it's human-led, is oftentimes driven by data and insights, so that whenever we create that thing, we know that it's really set up to be engaged with and seen by the right kind of audience. And oftentimes what we're seeing is that the intent is higher, but also the lead to QL ratio is a lot higher too whenever someone does convert.
Got it. And then so obviously, we're in the age of AI right now.
Yeah.
It's talked quite often in this event here. But and as everyone from your CEO to Dharmesh to all these folks have and you've talked about how kind of AI has caused search traffic to go down.
Sure.
People have to diversify. People have to think about creating content in different ways. Yeah. And now it's a lot easier for people to copy other content as well. In this age, how does The Hustle or how does HubSpot essentially think about creating content?
Yeah, well, I think, yes, AI has empowered us to work a lot more efficiently and to unlock new creative opportunities that were just otherwise not within our reach due to resources. But what it's also forced us to do is just become a lot sharper in the value that we're providing audiences. Because to your point, in this age where everyone's running the same playbook, creating the same content, everything kind of looks the same, sounds the same, everyone's sort of using the same AI agents to scrape the internet for news of the day and turning that into an email product, you kind of have to be unique. You have to stand out. And so it's really caused us to sort of reevaluate our own editorial strategies to make sure that we are set up to win in that era.
Got it. And then do you think that's also why you have, the hustle is pretty funny at times as well, right? It's like you use humor to kind of differentiate
it's kind of like irreverent.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I love a lot of the infographics that you guys create, and then you guys, so and then all the different topics. One of my favorite topics that I think was on The Hustle was it was a big thing about Gatorade and the history of Gatorade.
Yes, that was a good story.
I think it's not talking about simply the most recent kind of news, but it's kind of referencing all these different things together. And maybe that is what makes it slightly unique as well, right? It's it's not just it's not easy to replicate, right?
Yeah, it's harder to replicate because there is a lot of original research and a lot of just thought and creativity that goes into its production. It's sourced as well, so that's something that AI would really have a really hard time to replicate. But to your point, these are topics that, yes, are human-driven, but also are providing insights. It might feel like you're learning something while you're reading it, but you're learning something while you're reading it, and that's why we're able to convert audiences at a pretty high conversion rate as a result.
Got it. Can you talk a little bit about, I think it was mentioned today, you launched 10 YouTube channels all at once almost.
It wasn't all at once. It was definitely very methodical, but we do have 10 channels today.
Yeah, and but HubSpot obviously started out with text, blog. It was very focused on that. And I was a college student when I started reading HubSpot, all the different blogs about marketing. But I think you've evolved over time into audio, into video. Why kind of diversify there? And then what was kind of thinking of where to go first? And how to strategize around that?
Yeah, well, I think there are two trends. One was that we saw the writing on the wall that audiences wanted to hear from actual human beings and not corporate blogs, right? And so that's why we went to podcasts and why we went to YouTube, because those are very human and personality-driven formats. The second thing too is, especially with video has become the currency of virtually every platform today. Like you think about LinkedIn's push in a short form video, you think about Instagram, you think about TikTok, you think about YouTube, you think about O&O players, like they're all very much video-driven experiences. And so an investment in video allows you then to multiply that investment across a bunch of different platforms. So there's a lot of economies of scale as a result of doing that.
Got it. So it's almost like the core content is video, and then you can turn it into text.
Yeah, you can remix it into a bunch of different things. Exactly.
Got it. And then for HubSpot currently, how important is kind of the short form video side? What's kind of the team around it, and how do you kind of build out the content?
Yeah. So short form content has quickly become one of our most viewed formats. It's an onboarding mechanism for people to be aware of your long form content on YouTube. It's being prioritized algorithmically by LinkedIn and other platforms as well. And the barrier for entry to produce that is a lot lower, which I think is why it's a great entry point for a lot of content creators, because as long as you have an iPhone and you know how to use CapCut, you're solid. You got it. So the barrier for entry is a lot lower. And so we think about it as a means of reaching people, but also as an audience development tactic to be able to push people into becoming subscribers of our channels or to watch long form videos.
Got it. And as kind of for companies that are more maybe B2B, right, and they aren't used to kind of creating especially video content, what advice would you kind of give them? Because I think you mentioned it is easier to make short form video, but at the same time, that also means there's going to be a lot more competition. And there's going to be a lot more people making similar type of content. Most people, when they look at a corporate video, they're like, this is not interesting. I'm just going to swipe to the next one. So what's kind of your recommendation there? How do you kind of make it sticky?
Yeah, try not to sound like a B2B or corporate corporate brand. I know that is easier said than done. Oftentimes there are kind of brand and editorial guardrails that are sort of forcing the output, but everyone else is playing that same game. And the way to stand out is to not do that, but to do it in a very calculated way so that, people are eating their broccoli, but it's covered in cheese. And so it tastes good going down. They're actually getting something out of it as a result. And so that would be my advice to them. Partner with creators. Oftentimes the easiest gateway into reaching audiences that you don't currently reach or have a really strong connection with is through people that already have that established relationship with their audiences. And so a lot of our programming today either is in partnership with creators or is driven by internal talent that are subject matter experts themselves. And then lean into AI. I know that AI, especially within media, oftentimes gets villainized or has a bad rap because, there's a lot of gaffes out there about how bad it is or the quality being terrible. And that's what it is right now. In some cases, it's getting a lot better. And as long as you're using AI responsibly and everything is human driven from end to end, you're going to be fine. It's going to unlock so much more production and distribution opportunity.
Got it. I want to kind of deep dive a little bit onto the creator side that you mentioned. I think you had this era of corporate, let's say like news, right? Like New York Times, they're incredible organization with essentially creators, right? Journalists. And then on the other side, you had this really big pushback with Substack, individual journalists, right, who make a brand for themselves. But then each side has their pros and cons, right? Where does HubSpot kind of fit in? Does it fit in between? How do you work with creators? And what do you kind of see as the future here? Do you see it converging in the middle? Do you see both extremes existing? Yeah,
interesting. You're right, because in the old world of media, you sort of had these capital J journalists that were just put up on a pedestal, and then these sort of the riffraff, the creators that were doing Instagram, and they're kind of looked down on. And I think the tables have kind of turned, because to your point, now a lot of those folks are getting on Substack and generating a ton of revenue for themselves. And so we kind of operate somewhere in the middle where we own and operate a media network that employs a lot of really great editorial talent from companies like Business Insider and Axios and The Onion and Vox. At the same time, we partner with creators to produce own content, but also to produce content for their channels. And oftentimes that can be anywhere from a simple sponsorship where they are HubSpot customers, but they're also creating ancillary content that people want to actually engage with and convert around. And sometimes that might mean us acquiring them, like we did with Mindstream last year. We acquired, one of the leading AI newsletters because the thing that we saw is that they were doing something much different than anyone else out there. They had a really loyal audience. They had a lot of potential to grow beyond email. And one of our gaps in terms of media production was probably AI. And so it sort of checked a lot of boxes. And so we continue to sort of evolve how we work with creators, but we are very leaned into that space.
Amazing. And I think, for a lot of like individual Substack, writers, one of their issues is they don't have the infrastructure, right? That you would have in like a New York Times or Washington Post, all these different places of like, let's say like the fact checking, like all these different things. And maybe what you guys are doing is kind of playing in between, but having almost the best of both worlds, right? Where you can provide some of the infrastructure, but you can also provide a little bit of freedom for the creators.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because like what a lot of creators love about working with HubSpot is that, to your point, like they are usually solopreneurs, and it can get very lonely being a solopreneur. And oftentimes people are not like expert salespeople, so being able to sell themselves and do that on a consistent basis is very difficult. And when you're just working with one brand, HubSpot, it's a lot easier. When you work with a brand that gives you complete creative autonomy, like HubSpot does, it makes it a lot more interesting. And you're right, we have distribution resources they don't have access to. We have production resources they don't have access to. And so there's a lot of mutual benefit in us working together.
So moving on a little bit on the AI side, I think one of the really interesting things here is, where do you kind of see this future? Because like, obviously search traffic's down, all these things are down for the individual websites. Do you think websites will continue to exist? Will they not exist? Like, do you almost have to have everything distributed? Like we did have an era of like distributed media, right?
That's true. I remember that.
Like,
are
we kind of returning to that? Are we like, how is it kind of evolved?
I don't think websites will go away. I think you always need a home base to send people to, because the thing about websites is like you control the user experience in a way that you can't control on platforms like YouTube or Substack or Instagram. I just think the importance becomes not as much as it was maybe even a couple of years ago.
Interesting.
And we are moving into a more of like a highly distributed world again, but you still need a place to send people back to take an action that you can then own.
Got it. And then one of these distributed areas is, the LLM itself. Right. And I think, in inbound this year, you guys talked about AEO and kind of building kind of a strategy around how to get discovered. Can you talk a little bit about that and like what that really entails for brands and what they have to do to get noticed, not just by Google and search, but now by an AI?
So I think the most important thing is AEO is still the Wild West. Anyone that claims to be an AEO expert probably isn't an AEO expert, but we're all learning together in real time. The second thing is that you're writing for a different audience. With SEO, you're writing for primarily a human audience. With AEO, you're primarily writing for a robot. What we know about robots is that they love objective, structured data. So the output of the content looks a little different. So that's one really important thing. The second thing is that you're experimenting a lot with ideas that haven't been yet proven, right? So you hear a lot of folks talk about things that work, don't work. It's a lot of like punditry on LinkedIn. Within HubSpot specifically, we have recently spun up an experimental group that is coming up with a bunch of different theses and piloting those theses and learning from them, clipping the things that don't work, and then absorbing the things that do work into our playbook that we ultimately use to evolve how we approach AEO and then how we work with our customers to help them approach AEO as well.
Do you think like almost you're gonna have like two extremes where like one is human facing, right, and one interface is AI facing, and like you almost have two layers of the web where like you're gonna have all these AIs kind of roaming around all these different websites?
I hope not, because it's a lot of duplicative effort. At the same time, you have to anticipate that someone is going to read that AEO piece of content, so you don't want it to be like a bunch of binary. Like you want it to actually be like comprehensible for people.
But to your point, I mean, like the AIs, they look at information differently, right?
Totally.
And like it's information maybe a human doesn't really understand, or maybe they don't even want to look at. But the AI wants to look at it.
The AI actually appreciates it.
How do you kind of push those two information at the same time?
I mean, I think one part of it right now is you just have to be okay with the fact that you're going to be creating a lot of content that kind of gets like sandboxed into an area of the website that human beings aren't meant to see, but the LLMs will see as a way of influencing citation volume within ChatGPT, Claude, et cetera.
Got it. And then, so currently, a lot of the AI doesn't look too much at like video, at like...
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not like, or like audio, right, with podcasts. Yeah. Obviously, that's going to happen in the future, and there's going to be a ton of data around there. But currently, most of the AIs are looking at text data.
Yes.
Right? And so does this kind of show, at least in the short term, that people still should be focused on and creating really good text data as well? Or...
So I think the other thing to know about LLMs is that relative to search traffic, it's still a small slice in terms of people going off the LLMs and coming back to your website and taking action. So while it's only going to continue to multiply at an exponential rate, you don't want to just like throw the baby out with the bathwater and stop doing SEO or stop doing video or stop doing, static graphics. You have to do all those things. But I do believe we're going to get to a place pretty soon where multimodal content with video specifically will start to be more aggressively indexed and prioritized within the LLMs, just given the fact that the reason why video is being prioritized right now by a lot of platforms is because you can monetize it at a higher CPM. So it'd stand to reason that the LLMs would be prioritizing that as well.
Got it. And then obviously in this kind of AI search debate, we have this interesting discussion going around in the industry about, hey, like the websites used to monetize mostly through ads, through traffic. And obviously if traffic volumes are going down and you have to get it through different places in different ways, how do you actually monetize websites? Like, and obviously HubSpot, you guys are experts on this area. What's kind of the future here? Like obviously like you saw the Cloudflare CEO talk about kind of how things should change. What's kind of your perspective on this?
Yeah, well, I think it depends on your business model. Like if your business model is monetizing audience attention, then you're probably not putting as much emphasis on your website as much as you once were, and you're probably figuring out what does sales look like for YouTube, for podcasts. How do we work more closely with creators in a really collaborative way that allows us to sort of bring them to brands we work with and take a piece of that pie too. If your business like HubSpot, where it's more demand generation, while the traffic may be going down, the quality of the traffic is increasing to the point where we're seeing 3x the value of AI referred traffic relative to SEO referred traffic. So while it's smaller, the quality and the actual lead to QL conversion rate's a lot higher.
Interesting. So I kind of want to end or talk at the very end about this idea of building content. Obviously, with the advent of the internet, I feel like we've almost ended an era of average media, where if you were, let's say, like a newspaper in San Francisco or in Boston or in Tokyo, wherever it was, you were limited, you were restricted, geographically, right? Like you couldn't go to other places, but you were also protected. Where you can kind of serve everyone there, and nobody would go outside because you're the only newspaper in town. Obviously, the internet has changed that dramatically. Now you can get information from everywhere, and people want to get good information. They don't want bad information. Or even average information now. So in that sense, right, with the competition increasing with content, and it also becoming harder and harder than ever to actually get discovered as a service. What's kind of the future here? Like, I think one of our kind of theses around this was you have to almost build a content-centric business. Where you start off with amazing content, you get trust and awareness, and then you sell products on top of that. And obviously HubSpot I think, like built the playbook on this with the inbound marketing. What's kind of your perspective here?
We've had this saying at HubSpot for a very long time, which is give value before you extract value. And I think that sums up exactly what you're saying. Which is, if you just start a content operation and start asking for people to convert into a lead or buy your product, you're probably not gonna last very long. It's been a big focus of ours in terms of creating value that is inimitable, but also things that lean into this sense of people seeking out trust more than ever before. And I think those two things are going to sort of break through in this world of commodified AI content. When people are running the same playbooks, everything starts to look the same, sound the same. Like, I never thought I'd live in an era where like the M- became a grammatical punching bag, but here we are. In this world, you really have to have something unique and differentiated to stand out. Otherwise, you're toast.
And it's really interesting how this has kind of gravitated gravitated so that it's less like corporations that are doing it, and you're kind of branching out. And HubSpot has been very deliberate about this, right? About having people almost be first, right? I think Dharmesh has a very proactive LinkedIn account, and that was on purpose. That's not him just like wanting to just post on LinkedIn. You intentionally did it. So what is that going to continue now, or is there going to be an era where we're going to have corporates again, or is that just going to continue to be kind of human centric?
I think it's going to continue to be human centric, but I think the role and the leverage that creators have right now has never been greater. It's like I forgot what the stat is. Maybe I can find it and send it to you. But like, Gen Z being asked like what they want to be, and like by and large, creator is like top of it,
definitely.
right? Creators are the new like Michael Jordan, the next like that new like Mark Zuckerberg. Like people want to be them, not necessarily these like larger than life tech CEOs or larger than life athletes. And I think that says something about the future of the creator, and that like they have a lot more leverage than they ever have before, largely because the distribution dynamics and the discovery dynamics have completely flipped in their favor.
So last question, what's been kind of the most exciting thing in this past, we started the conference today. What's been kind of the most exciting for you for, this past year, let's say, looking at how media has evolved?
I think, and this is going to sound like a corny answer, so I apologize. We've been working on a media model and a marketing model that is now what is essentially loop marketing, right? Like this isn't a thing that we just like woke up one day and like, oh, we got to think of like a new playbook name. This is a thing that we've been doing on ourselves as a guinea pig, talking to customers about for a really long time. And so I'm really excited to see a lot of that labor turned into an actionable playbook that our 267,000 customers can now actually use and do themselves without having to have the same infrastructure and the same capital that we ourselves have. And so I'm excited for that to finally come to fruition because we've seen a lot of success by diversifying away from web-dependent traffic and expanding into new channels and leaning into creators and subject matter experts, and that's I think the opportunity for a lot of our customers as well.
Now, I love the fact that you guys have announced Loop, and now, but you guys are the first customers using it, right? You guys use it for yourself.
Yeah, we kind of had to be because how bad would we be if we just been like, hey, do this thing and it's unproven, but trust us.
No, that makes sense. Well, thank you for inviting us out.
Yeah, thanks for these. I love these chats so much. Like I love nerding out about media. So this is like my favorite thing to do.
No, and please, HubSpot is growing in Japan as well.
Yes.
So hope to see you there someday. And thank you for your time today.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah.